Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in this video I will be doing my review of Money in the Bank 2023. So first up we had the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, eventually won by Damian Priest. This is an interesting way to go. I thought, like everybody else, that LA Knight was going to get the win here, or Logan Paul. But I think Damian Priest is a good pick. I think not just as I'm a big fan of the Judgment Day, but also because I feel like he's very close to being at that main event level. I know there's a fair few people that would disagree with me. I feel like he'd make a really good world champion whenever they want to pull the trigger on him cashing in Money in the Bank. I don't think it'll come quite yet. I think he'll hold it for a good few months before cashing it in. And I think having the cracks with the Judgment Day that I'll talk about more with Balor and Rollins' match, something I don't agree with, but I'll go into more detail on why in that part of the video. But this match was really good. I thought it was the better of the two ladder matches, though they were both very good. Obviously the standout of this match was the brutal spot that Logan Paul and Ricochet took through a table, where their heads just weren't supposed to go where they should have gone, and it was awful. And I thought, obviously, like everybody, we thought they were going to be really hurt. Luckily they weren't, or at least nothing's come out that they were hurt. Ricochet was on Raw on Monday, so I'm glad that they're both okay. And yeah, as I said, I'm interested to see when and where Priest cashes in, and I look forward to seeing him as a world champion, as it has been suggested that the men are going to have a successful cash in this year, which is good. But I think LA Knight should have got the win here. I feel like his character's better suited to Money in the Bank. But I'm curious to see how Priest goes as Mr. Money in the Bank. Following that, we had Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeat Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler to become the new women's tag team champions. This match for me was alright. It was nothing special, even though we had a title change and a turn. It just felt like a nothing match in my opinion. I feel like it's going to be one of the matches that people forget about this pay-per-view, which is unfortunate. But with the state of the women's tag division and just the championships themselves, it's just nothing to take seriously. It's not worth paying attention to in my opinion. And though, you know, Liv and Raquel are a decent team, I still see them as two single superstars, which I think is the main issue with the women's tag division, is that it just feels like they're putting two single superstars together just to put the title belts on them, which is a shame. And I feel like they could have done way more with them ages ago, back when they were first introduced. But nowadays they feel like they're meaningless and they get hot potatoed around a lot, and I don't have any interest in them. And I think and like a lot of people as well, they should just scrap them and get a mid-card women's title as well, instead, because that going that way would be a lot easier, and I feel like it would make a lot more stars that way, because the women's tag championships just don't work. As for Ronda and Shayna, after watching Raw as well, I'm glad that they've done the turn, but Shayna's the face and Ronda's the heel, because Ronda as a face is insufferable, and everything that Shayna was saying about Ronda Rousey on Raw was completely true. So I'm glad that they're going this way, and because I hate Ronda Rousey so much, and have done since her first run. And you know, there's been talks that this might be going towards her retirement, which I'm very happy about, to be fair. And I think it's a good way to elevate Shayna Baszler into the main event scene as well, beating a big name like Ronda Rousey. But yeah, I said the match itself was pretty mid. I didn't really enjoy it that much. It seemed to be over very quickly as well. I'm glad for the turn, but not bothered about the championships, unfortunately. Following that, we had Gunther successfully retain the Intercontinental Championship against Matt Riddle. I thought this was a decent match for what it was. I feel like it had an injury angle that it didn't need, though it did add to the story building up to it. I felt like if these two were at 100%, they could have put on one of the matches of the night. But yeah, I think it was good for what it was. One thing I did notice is that Gunther seemed to have prepared well for Riddle. In the case of like all the submissions that Riddle tried to do, he was either powering out of or using the ankle injury to get out of, which I thought was really good. And it's not very often I notice that people are prepared for matches, but here it just seemed to stick out a lot more than usual, which I thought was good, and it was a good element to the match. You know, having Riddle's submission style against Gunther's powerhouse style, I thought was really, really cool, and I think it blended really well. I said I'd love to see these two go at it when Riddle's at 100%, so I feel like it could be a very, very good match. and having Gunter finish the match with slapping the heel or the foot and then put him in a submission that he wouldn't usually use as a finish is, I think, is really good. It gives that match that it gives facing Gunter that unpredictability because he could beat you with any move, which is what I like in a champion. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where Gunter goes next. Obviously, Drew McIntyre returned after the match and confronted Gunter, and it seems like they're going to be the match at SummerSlam. The only issue I have with that is, one, Drew McIntyre is still a face, and I thought he'd come back as a heel. I think he's better fitted to the heel character. And two, having Drew face Gunter at SummerSlam and have Drew win means that Gunter's reign got close to the Honky Tonk Man's record, but didn't overtake it, which I think is the wrong decision. I feel like if they're going to have, I feel like they should have Gunter go the whole way and be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. I feel like he fully deserves it, and he's been putting on great matches throughout his title reign, whether it's on pay-per-view or on SmackDown or on Raw. And as I said, he fully deserves to be the longest reigning champion. But I don't know, we'll have to see where it goes. But I would have Gunter defeat Drew at SummerSlam, then turn Drew heel, and then have him probably go up into the main event scene, maybe. But I'm looking forward to seeing the feud between McIntyre and Gunter. And yeah, it's a decent match, but could have been better if Riddle hadn't got an injured ankle. So next up, we had Cody Rhodes defeat Dominic Mysterio. I thought this was a pretty average match. I felt like this was just a way to get Cody Rhodes on the card and for him to start building momentum toward the latter stage of the year, going towards the main event scene again. I said there was nothing wrong with it, and I like the fact that Dominic got on the card as well. Having all three male members of the Judgment Day on the card, I thought was very good, and I like that as a fan of the Judgment Day. But it just felt like something else could have gone on here, or Cody Rhodes could have had a bigger match with somebody else. But I don't know, maybe even he could have been in the Money in the Bank match. You know, I originally thought that this would be the case where Cody would get the win and then Brock would come back, and that was the reason for having the match, but then he didn't. So I don't know, it just kind of felt like it was a placeholder, or just a way to get Cody on the card. But they said it was good, and you can see that Dominic's getting better in the ring as well, which is very good. And yeah, I don't know, I keep saying good because that's all it pretty much was. There's nothing really more I can say about this one. It's pretty average, but good either way. Yeah, didn't have much else more to say about that one. So following that, we had a surprise appearance by John Cena. Honestly, I lost it. I'm a massive John Cena fan. And yeah, he teased, or he said he was trying to get WrestleMania to come to London, which I think is huge. As someone who is in the UK, I feel like having WrestleMania would be massive, and I would love it. And it'd give me an easier opportunity to go to a WrestleMania. And yeah, I said if that is the case, I would love it. Be able to take my brother, be able to take my friend. And I think we'd just, I said it would just be really good. And I just wanted to. So I don't usually do segments on the video on the channel, but for this one I thought it was important just because of me being in the UK and stuff like that. And then Grayson Waller interrupted and said they should have had it on Australia, which I can imagine is harder to do than in the UK. But Waller was there to be AA'd. I think that was the point in that one. I don't think it'll set up any matches between them or something like that. But yeah, it was a decent segment, but the main part was trying to get WrestleMania to London, which yeah, I'm all for completely and would love it if it did happen. Following that, we had the women's Money in the Bank ladder match won by Io Sky. I think this is a fully deserving win for Io Sky, and I was going to predict it for the win, and I thought that similar to LA Knight, because she was so popular, they wouldn't give her the win. So I went with Becky Lynch, and unfortunately that didn't work out, and it was Io Sky, which I'm very happy for and happy about it. I feel like she'll make a great champion whenever she's had to cash in, so I'm looking forward to when that happens. Though it's been rumoured that the women are going to have an unsuccessful cash in, it wouldn't surprise me if Bayley cost Io the cash in match. I'm hoping that won't be the case because, as I said, Io is fully deserving of being a champion. She was a great NXT champion, so I don't know. I worry that Bayley's going to cost her, and they're going to use Money in the Bank in two separate breakup of a group storylines, which I think is really silly. But as for the match itself, respect to Trish Stratus, who was in her first ladder match in her whole career, which I thought was mad. you would have just assumed she'd been in one, but nope. And she took an what does Becky call it now? The manhandle slam onto the ladder, and you can see that she kind of busted her nose a bit. So to have a first land match at her age as well, absolute respect to her. And the spot between Zelina Vega and Zoe Stark was brutal, especially for Zoe, who I thought at one point had her head stuck between the rungs of the ladder. But again, luckily they're all right. So it's just one for the highlight reel, if you will. And yeah, this match was good. I very much enjoyed it. I just enjoyed the men's match a bit better. And I thought this was like the smartest way I've ever seen someone win Money in the Bank. With Io, well, listen, Becky's hands were handcuffed anyway, and yeah, Io used the second handcuff to handcuff Bayley, and then they were stuck in the ladders. I felt like a push could have stopped Io, but yeah, it was just a really smart way to take two of the competitors, and maybe two of the favourite competitors, out of the match for her to get the win. I thought it was interesting that Io climbed over Bayley to get the win, almost some foreshadowing going on there for damage control. But yeah, it's a really good match overall, and Io Sky fully deserving of winning this Money in the Bank. Next up, we had Seth Rollins successfully defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. For me, I thought that having the rib injury in the match was a bad decision. I think it was not a shoot injury. I think it was just worked for the match. I don't think it needed it. I understand that Finn Balor is more violent now and more darker, but if Rollins had been 100% and Balor 100%, this could have been match of the night. You know, these two put on a great match at SummerSlam 2016, and they could have run this back perfectly, and they didn't because they decided to put an injury angle in, which I thought was pointless. And yeah, I think it just took away from the match for me. They should have just let these two go. They shouldn't have any interference, anybody on the outside, nothing. Just let them do what they do best, and they decided not to do that, which is a shame. Maybe they're going to have another match at some point, but I don't think that's the way they're going. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it could have been so much better if the injury angle hadn't have been in there. Another thing that I didn't like was the fact that Finn Balor got put off by Damian Priest walking towards the ring because he's Mr. Money in the Bank. I think that's a mistake. I feel like having crap show in the Judgment Day is a huge mistake. I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan of them. I just don't think it's worth doing. I'm fed up with like getting invested into teams and then them splitting up unless they're the Usos or the New Day. Every team seems to split up as soon as they have any kind of momentum. The fact that all three male members were on the card and only one of them won, I think that at least one of them got a win. I suppose that's good, but you know, having Balor win the title but then be constantly cautious that Priest was going to cash in on him, I think would have made a much better story. But then, you know, to conflict that, I also didn't want Rollins to lose the title because I think he's been a really good champion so far. But either way, it would have been really good. And they say just having this Priest kind of being, I think having him be on the outside isn't the issue. I just feel like he should have just come out with Balor during the entrance instead of coming in mid-match like he was going to cash in. And I know that people would have enjoyed that more in the crowd, but it just didn't make any sense to me in my opinion. And yeah, it kind of took away from the match again. You know, Finn Balor seems to have a real issue with the top rope, especially the one on the far right, as that's the one that broke when he faced Roman, and that's the one he was up upon when Priest got up. You know, if I was Finn Balor, I'd stop doing the coup de grace because going up to the top rope seems to be his kryptonite at the minute, especially these last few years. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of saw this one as a disappointment because it could have been so much more without the injury and without Priest being on the outside and everything like that. I'm hoping they rerun it back at some point, but I feel like this story has kind of lost its momentum now. I feel like that kind of a one and done for the feud. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed with it, but Seth Rollins retains the World Heavyweight Championship. And finally, in the main event, we had the Usos defeat Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa in a massive match for the main event. And what a match it was. It was by far my match of the night. And Roman got pinned for the first time in 3.5 years, which is huge. And I can't believe they actually did it. I wanted them to do it, but the fact they actually pulled the trigger on Jay getting the pin was massive in my opinion. I marked out completely. I'm not even going to deny it. I thought the match itself was really good as well. I thought it had slow methodical pace to it, which favoured Solo and Roman to start the match. But it was almost like disguised when the match turned to really like fast paced, which preferred the Usos. Like just 1 minute it was slow, and then the next minute it was really high paced. Like there seemed to be no transition between, which I thought was really good. And the match itself like flew by. I think it went over 30 minutes, and yet it seemed like a 15-minute match, which is something I always really enjoy with matches like that, when it doesn't feel as long as it has been. But I'd said it was an emotional roller coaster. Having Jimmy and Jay kick out for the Stack'em pin, I thought was a huge moment, and also having Jay kick out of the spear as well, I thought was really good. One thing I did have, I mean, it's a little thing, is like that Jay and Jimmy Uso should never do a spear ever again, because both of them just suck at it from the double spear that Roman took. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic throughout. I think by far it was the best match on the night, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me there. But is this storyline coming to an end? I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't see them putting the title on Jey Uso. I feel like they're definitely going to have a match at SummerSlam between Roman and Jey. But I can't see Jey winning the title. I can't. And if they do, it'll be like a Kofi Kingston moment or a Daniel Bryan moment. But I don't know, like just the thought of him as world champion just isn't as appealing to me. I feel like this is the highest Jey can get with pinning Roman for the first time in 3.5 years. But I don't know, I can't see him as a world champion. But I think this definitely has to be considered as one of the greatest storylines in WWE history. It has to be up there with like Andre and Hogan, Rock and Austin, because this has been 3 years of just fantastic storytelling all coming to a culmination now. I can't remember anything that came close to this storyline in recent history. I think maybe Punk and Cena to a point, maybe Randy Orton and Triple H, again just to a point, but nothing has been as good as this in a long time, and it has been joyous to experience every week and every month for the last 3 years. And yeah, I look forward to see what happens next. I said I think they're going to have Jey and Roman at SummerSlam just because Jey pinned him. And I look forward to SmackDown to see the trial of Roman Reigns, which I think is an interesting thing to do. And yeah, I look forward to seeing the storyline play out for the next maybe, 5 weeks till SummerSlam. I think after SummerSlam they're going to go on to something else, and I can't see Roman dropping the title at SummerSlam either. So yeah, I'm curious to see what Roman does after SummerSlam. So those are my thoughts and opinions on Money in the Bank 2023. In my opinion, I think this has been probably one of the best Money in the Banks ever. I'd probably say it's probably the best one since 2019. 2020, 2021, 2022 I thought were very meh. But this one in comparison has blown them completely out of the water. Probably one of the more enjoyable shows of the year, and what I'm really enjoying is the fact that WWE are putting on consistently good pay-per-views, especially since WrestleMania. Like Backlash was good, Night of Champions was great, Money in the Bank was great, and yeah, I like the fact that we're now getting consistently quality pay-per-views, and they're not really long like they used to be. Only like 6 or 7 matches on the card, and yeah, they're just becoming way more enjoyable. I'm probably enjoying WWE more now than AEW, which is something I haven't said for a long time. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying WWE in a minute, which makes me really, very happy. As far as prediction goes, as you can see in the corner here, I'm now on 29 out of 44. I think I got 3 out of 7 for this pay-per-view, as the matches I only got right were Cody and Dominic. Oh no, it wasn't Cody. Balor and Rollins, Usos and Roman, and Hunter and Riddle. The rest I got very wrong. I was pretty confident in getting all of them right this time as well, but that was very much not the case. But yeah, if you do like the video, please give it a like, do hit subscribe, comment down below what you thought of the pay-per-view, what your favourite match was, and what you think the match card might be at SummerSlam, and any feedback from me as well would be much appreciated. But for now, I will see you guys later.